My name is Nanette Barto, and I'm going to walk you through a handwriting presentation of Jack W. Tarrance Jr. and comparing that to the communications from the Zodiac killer from 1968 to 1969. Basically what I've done is I've compiled an array of different capital letter A's out of the communications from Jack's handwriting to give us an idea of what type of habits he uses when he forms his A's. We'll cover some of those distinct characteristics as we look through here. I have some that are marked out that we'll overlay to look and see if the habituation that we see occurring in Jack's writing is indeed happening in the Zodiac communications. I'd like to start up here with K131 out of Jack's handwriting. We see that it's rounded version A's in this particular communication, but we can go down into K14 and see some with a point, and even over into K28 and with a very drastic point. So the reason why I pulled different A's from different communications is because people tend to use 2 and 3 different types of forms for their letters, and we want to see which ones are in Jack's arsenal. So if we take K131 right here, something that a document examiner is going to pay attention to is the slant that the letter is actually going in, and Jack has a hard right slant in a lot of cases. This one's kind of mild. Where he places the crossbar on the A in relation to how much space is left in the triangular portion above at the top and how long the legs stick out the bottom of the A there. So we'll take this particular A and we'll bring it down and we'll place it over the top of the A from the Zodiac in Q47. And what we see here is that the crossbar crosses at the same point on the A as it does in the Zodiac's writing, with approximately the same amount of length in the legs at the bottom of the crossbar coming out. Also, generally we'll bring the letters up to about roughly the same exact size just to get an idea of the spacing on the inside. Lay this one back over the top of the Zodiacs, and we see that that section, the intersection or triangular section of the A, is fairly similar, large, open, wide to about the same degree. The width of the legs are the same between both authors when the letter is brought up to exactly the same size as the other. You can also go over here and take K11, which is a rounded, slanted A, and see that that one fits on absolutely perfect. The space on the inside of the upper triangle of the A, nice, large, big, bubbly. We have short legs at the bottom because the crossbar on the A is crossed really low on the A. Another one out of K11 we'll just put over the top of one from Q54 here from the Zodiac, but basically what we're getting again is a very similar slant crossing of the actual crossbar on the A is at about the same level relative to the actual feet that dangle below, and that space again on the inside up there is nice and large and open. Angular A's seem to have the same type of slant in them as well. This one is a bit taller, but we're looking to see where the slant lies, how the crossbar crosses the A in relation to the top point of the A, and we see that those are dead on. You could take K98 here and put it over the top of one from Q46, and we see that again we have the nice point at the top lining up, the space inside the A, the slant of the particular A, and the crossbar lining up on point. Well, this A here in Q63, I'm sorry, by the Zodiac, you can't see the top side of the A, but you can definitely see that it is curving to the right and where the crossbar is in relation to that particular A. And we take this one from Jack's up here from Q54, and what we find out is that both legs and the crossbar line up just perfect. Lowercase a's, Jack's favorite type of A is a bell top A, whether it's angular or rounded. Sometimes he completes the overhang entirely. Sometimes he stops short, and it's really just what I refer to as a high back A that has a top that sticks out above the bowl. I did find the lowercase a's in Jack's writing, and when you take those and you overlay them over the top of something out of the Zodiac communication, say Q58 here, we see that the tail comes out at exactly the same point. It crosses over the backside in the same manner. The bowl points to the same direction, and it overlays beautifully, absolutely perfect. This came out of the same author's hand. When you take his bowl top A or his bell top A's and use just the bowl to get an idea or a sense as to which direction and what type of a shape the bowls take on from the Zodiac's disguised letter A's, you can pick this up and bring it down over the top of them, and you see that the bowl leans to the same direction to the same degree. It's oval in shape, fits right over the top of nearly every single A the Zodiac attempted to disguise within its range, which is a good sign. We don't want to see something contradictory, and basically what we're seeing is similar traits. Now, in the Zodiac's writing, the reason why I claim that these happen to be disguised A's is because he left in several instances what I refer to as the high back A, which was up here in Jack's writing, where he didn't actually complete. And you see it over here in K2 as well, where he didn't complete the overhang on the A. That's what you're seeing here, and these are probably something he was not trying to leave. This is definitely a habit he can't stop doing because he's used to forming or starting his A well above that bowl. So he continues to do so, forgetting that that's exactly what he's doing in these communications. Capital letter B's, Jack has a trait that he ends the lower bowl short, either leaving a tail sticking out from the stem of the B or curving completely inward and not making any connection at all. His lower bowl seems to be much smaller than his upper bowl, which a lot of times makes it look like it's top heavy or that it's going to fall over. He has a definite slant that is consistent with the Zodiac. Here's one of those B's with the angular, smaller bowl and the rounder top bowl. We can pick that one up and bring it down over the top of many of these particular writings and see that that shape and size fits perfect with the Zodiac. Here's another one. That bottom bowl is just dead on. The slant is dead on. This slant's a little bit more upright than this particular B, but then that's where we look at more of the habits of Jack and which direction his B tends to go in, and we definitely see a consistent slant on the back side of that bar. So I'm going to pick this up and lay this down over just about every single one of the B's from the Zodiac, and the back bar lines up perfect. Spacing inside from one bowl to the next is within natural variation, very similar to one another. Back of the stem matching up every time. And then the angular version that we see, we can also find in Jack's writing with this particular letter B right here. And we see that those humps fall right where we would expect them to, pointing in the same direction, same angular shape. Lowercase b's follow the same slant. I can pick up the majority of Jack's lowercase b's, lay them right down, and most of the slants are identical to what we're getting with the Zodiac. While Jack generally does a single stroke for his B. He does have habits and does show using the two-stroke method that we see with the Zodiac. We do see the Zodiac though in several of the Bs, like this one here in Q13, and the whole entire communication from Q59, where he used a single stroke method. In this particular B here as well in Q63 was a single stroke method. And up here we see a version of those single strokes and what they end up looking like at the end, and that is very similar to what we see in Q59. So almost to say Jack didn't even attempt to try to disguise his handwriting. He left absolute identical B's to how he forms his B's in that communication. Capital letter C's, if they're not perfectly round with a hook mark or a tick mark at the top of the C, we find this angular construction that looks like the greater than, less than sign going to eat the next letter in its way. And then I also see a lot of the ending of his C's coming up as if it's going to connect to the next letter, but that's obviously not happening because this is printing. It's just the angle in which it comes up off of the line is very similar to what we find in the Zodiac's writing, and due to that I can pick up a majority of these C's and bring them right down, and those C's line up right where we would expect them to be. That bottom comes right up off of the baseline just like Jack's does. There again. There again. We can make these matches all day long. And we get some with a little more severe. There you go. There's a perfect lineup. Coming up off of that baseline, making the same angular shape from the back, pointing down into the same direction, which is at about 7 o'clock. Lowercase c's pretty much do the same thing. I find that same angular movement, angular backside in his more sloppy c's. And again, some more that are rounded, but we still have that stroke coming up off of the baseline in the same manner, same shape. And these are more like the Zodiac's C's for sure. Opens to the same direction, basically about the same width between the stroke, variance, natural variance here and there, but again the same point, the same round angular shape on the back end that is consistent with Jack. That was a beautiful lineup right there, another perfect match. Capital D's, they tend to run from either being round and bubbly to a very thin bottom with what I would call a large chest in the D that tends to point upward. We've seen that occur also as well in the Zodiac. These are very pointy at the bottom, but we do see some efforts by Jack to make a point at the bottom of his D's. So I took these to lay over to see how we lined up on spacing and on slant, and these were absolutely beautiful. They are exactly what I would expect to see if I was looking for this author. Jack's D's all fall within range, within the realm that they should. These all have and carry the same slants, same shapes. These here appear to be more disguised. Tried to have written them absolutely perfect. This one looks like he was very shaky. And then of course you have the rest of them that tend to fall in line with what Jack's natural writing is. In the lower